The Master Grade Gundam Avalance Exia Dash. Well, this kit for me was definitely quite the roller coaster. I'm gonna just outright say it. I hated every single second of this build. Does that make this a bad kit? By no means whatsoever. It's just I've had a bit of a rocky history with the Master Grade Exia. So just rewinding it back a little bit first before I talk about the Avalanche. I built my first Exia back in 2011, and it was like my third or fourth ever Master Grade kit. I loved every single second of it. I adored that kit. I still like this kit today. It's just missing what I love most about Gunpla, and that's the ability to put it into a cool pose, play around with it, touch it, take pictures of it, etc. without just falling apart. It's not the worst. I could disassemble it, glue it, and it would be perfect. But again, I loved it back then and I still love it now. But there was the middle step in this whole Exia adventure of sorts, and that of course is the Master Grade Exia Dark Matter. This thing is a wreck. Once again, that is out of box with a little bit of extra effort. This thing could be fantastic. Just out of box, this is one of the 3 worst kits I have ever seen when it comes to Master Grades. The others of course being Victory Gundam and the Delta Plus. It really is a kit I've considered going back to, disassembling, tightening up, gluing, etc. I will do that sometime in the future, just no time soon. But it is from that I just cannot with the build of the Exia. You guys have told me that apparently after 2017 they've changed something about the mold on the Exia. I don't think I've ever built a kit that is Exia based after 2017 besides the Avalanche Exia Dash right here. But while I was building this, I glued anything that felt loose, tightened any joint that did not feel solid as a rock, so I did put some extra effort into this, so this isn't necessarily an out-of-box build. It's mildly modified. But besides the whole drama I felt with the dark matter, I still did not enjoy this build. There's just something about it that isn't really fun at all. It was very tedious. The design is just a little bit wonky in a lot of ways. You have to hold things in odd ways. Those GN cables are a nightmare and just kind of push the limbs around, fall out while you're building it. It just is not fun, for me at least. All of the new Exia Avalanche parts though, however, are more modern, feel nicer. But you can tell that the original Exia kit was not designed with these in mind, because these all retrofit over other pegs and parts in a really odd sort of way. You cannot see that when it's finished, but it's very apparent while you're building it. But for me, the worst aspect of all of that is just the way that the shoulder armors, the new shoulder armors, just hold on with pressure around the old shoulder armor. There's nothing actually connecting them on, besides just kind of fitting on around them. If you've built any of the more modern kits like the Dynames or the Kyrios, this kit may be a little bit disappointing at its core. But when it is finished, I even found that I love this kit. It looks phenomenal, it feels good with that little bit of extra effort, and all the new exterior detail does look modern and cool, so this is a mixed bag of a kit. So yeah, in the end, a kit I thought I would never finish completely won me over and I adore it. This, without a doubt, is no Exia Dark Matter, and hey, that's enough talking about it. Let's get right into checking it out. Do you have a boring desk?
Well, what if it looked like this? Master Grade Gundam Barbatos for free! For free! For free! Master Grade Premium Bandai Option Set for free! For free! For free! Like any pact with a demon, all it will cost is your soul! Your soul! Your soul! Impenetrable armor! Mobile worker! Giant iron claws of death! How can I sell my soul and win this infernal giveaway, you ask? Just follow these 6 steps. Step 6! Be subscribed to the channel! Step 6! Sign up for buy! Link in the description, 1,000 yen off your first purchase! Step 6! Share this video on Twitter with the hashtags! Hashtag buy! Hashtag gunpla! Hashtag giveaway! If you don't have a Twitter, then make one! I didn't come up with the rules! More information in the description! You have 1 week!
So yeah, I did spend plenty time already on the intro, so let's get right into it. I did not mention the box, so let's talk about that first. So this is one of those boxes that's kind of weird because it's a P Bandai yet not P Bandai kit, so it has a full and awesome box art going on the front. I'm not sure of the ins and outs as to its P Bandai status where and whatnot. As far as I know, the Zanriser, the Turn Red, a lot of kits like that are available as full releases in some territories, but I don't know which. If you know, drop in the comments and it'd be much appreciated. On the sides of the box, we see everything that's going on in here. One hell of a kit by the looks of things. And the biggest thing to take away from this is the fact that this can be built in 2 different modes. That is the standard Gundam Avalance Exia, and we also have the bigger, bulkier, crazier Gundam Avalance Exia Dash. What you've seen so far in this review is the Avalance Exia Dash, but if we jump right on into the overview, there is absolutely everything that comes in the box, including what Exia looks like, stripped down of all the parts besides the ones on its arms. So even the Exia itself has a couple of little modifications that gives it a lot more yellow, and I'll build this up in this review as the Avalance Exia, then the Avalance Exia Dash. There's a whole lot of stuff in here, so much armor, all the weapons we would have seen with other versions of the Master Grade Exia. I will mention though that I did paint the blades on this because I hated the metallic silver in this kit. It was really not cool. And besides that, we get a whole bunch of decals which will not be used in this review besides a couple. And what we've got is sticker style decals, we've got some rub-on dry transfers, and we've got some premium water slide decals, aka normal water slide decals. Anyway, that is enough about what's in the box. Let's take a quick look at the Exia itself. So anyway, jumping right on into the aesthetics, and there is the Master Grade Gundam Avalance Exia, out of the box, snapped together with some panel lining, and this is it pretty much stripped most of the way down. So we'll build up some stuff later on, but before that, let's compare it to the standard version of the Exia. By standard version, this isn't the standard version, this is the ignition mode. So in case you are wondering, the only thing that makes the ignition mode right here any different to the standard mode is the fact that it's got a chromed out sword and a bunch of other parts in the box to make this into the Exia Repair 1. But besides that, it's identical as far as I know to the standard version that comes in this box. So as for what is making this one right here, the Avalanche, any different is the things around the back of the arms. That's because I didn't bother taking them off. You can build them just like this. The front skirting armors. I'll also mention that the standard skirting armors are included in the box. These chest vent sections in yellow, these are literally just stuck into the bottom of those slots there. Otherwise, exactly the same chest. And then the sides of the legs have these little parts over where the GN condensers would have been. And finally, we've got those extra thrusters around the back of the legs and up there on the booty. Also, I threw on the red cap thing or GN capacitor or whatever that thing is right there, just for the sake of showing the GN drive separate. So let's get that. So there we go, there it is. It's got that little transparent stand for displaying it if you want to display it separate to Exia. To pop that out, it just pops out like so. Then we'll take this out by popping them open, popping that. Just taking off the cap, it's literally just a tiny little cap. And then the GN drive just slots on in, as simple as that right there. This can be used with the sold separately LED units. I've showed them in some reviews before. I do not like these things at all. They're so unreliable. I find they work about 50% of the time. The wiring or whatever way they're designed is terrible. I honestly think you're better off wiring up your own LEDs than using these things. They're so unreliable, drain batteries really quick, and they're just a pain in the butt. But yeah, that's what they look like compared to each other. Physically, pretty much identical, besides an extra couple of parts. Let's get it loaded up as the Gundam Avalance Exia. First off, we just have to stick on this backpack and butt flap. The butt flap doesn't attach on all that well. It gets a little bit flappy, but hey, at least it's attached onto the backpack, so it's not going to fall off. So attaching these shoulders on is simple enough besides one aspect. You're meant to attach these on when the arms are not attached. That will make it a whole lot easier for you than what I'm doing right now. These only do clip on with just the one little peg to each other, so this is very easy to break, and of course, that means I did break it. They do attach also onto where the beam saber attachments were on the standard Exia, so there is a bit of a double hold on here, and when they're attached, that is what they look like. But anyway, moving on to that full 360 spin of the Master Grade Gundam Avalance Exia, and this thing looks fantastic. Those big shoulders just look so cool. Like I mentioned, you should probably attach the shoulders on when the arms are not attached, but I hate detaching and reattaching the Master Grade Exia's arms. The reason is because the GN wire section that is connecting the shoulders to the arms is the springiest, most annoying thing on this kit. It just keeps getting in the way, moving the shoulders around when you're trying to attach the arms, and just the whole thing is an absolute mess, especially once you put these big old Avalanche shoulders on. But still, when you get them on there, this is worth it because it is so beautiful, without a doubt. So anyway, because there isn't really a whole lot between Gundam Exia Avalanche right here in Exia Dash. Well, all that is different is these two leg aspects, that's it. These parts come off, the knees come off, these attach on, so we might as well get all the way to Exia Dash. So to attach the extra parts to make this into the Avalanche Dash, it's a little bit more labor intensive than the shoulders, but still not all that much. Just off of the blue parts on the sides of the legs, off of the kneecaps, and then just attach the Avalanche units on by separating them out and attaching them on. Now this is what I mean by the fact that this feels a bit like an awkward retrofit. You can see that those pegs from the knees don't stick into anything here. They're just hanging out behind it. And if you do turn this kit to certain angles, bend the knees, you will still see the pegs. So that is a little bit odd. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Damn it, we need a 2.0 of this kit and the standard Exia. But once again, the Avalanche parts though are quite modern and quite cool. But yeah, now that we've got the Exia Dash out, we might as well take a quick look at how this affects the articulation. And the answer is not a whole lot. Anything that we had before, we still have right now, especially because these big old arm sections on the back of the legs, these don't really get in the way at all because they have a lot of articulation. Again though, we do have something a little akin to cut corners in there. Those hollow segments don't look the greatest, kind of like the insides of the front of the knees, but hey, you could just put it down to there's a lot of prototyping, retrofitting, all that sort of stuff in the various Gundam 00 offshoots, so you could just put it down to that mentally. But you know, it's just Bandai being a little bit lazy. But yeah, as for the aspects of the articulation that we do lose, the knee can't bend quite as much as before because of all the bulk around back, and the waist you do lose some because we now have these GN cables around on the back linking this butt flap to the backpack, which essentially gets rid of next to all rotation, ab crunch, and all that jazz we would have had inside of the waist. Also, I totally regret not tightening up this joint while I was building it because that cable in there keeps pushing the arm down in the way that the Master Grade Exia tends to do. Again, not the worst. You could just remove the cable if you wanted to because you can barely see it, but again, not the worst. Oh yeah, and parts still like to shed off of this kit. But again, not the worst. So finally, one more spin and there it is, with everything attached, well, everything armor-wise, and this is the Master Grade Exia Avalanche Dash. And no matter what I say about the parts or the joints or anything like that, which like I said, if you do put the extra effort in, will be fine, but no matter what I say about all of that can take away from just how beautiful a kit this is. It looks phenomenal. No matter how many things happen, or how many things this kit does that kind of irk me, I still just look at it and go, but by God, you are a beautiful kit. Well, yeah, besides those hands, but we'll give them a pass. The Avalanche Exia Dash here, and I guess the Avalanche Exia as well, have two forms. This one, it's a little bit more apparent. So that is the standard form. You can also pull these little segments down like that. Wish your action base was a little better, but hey, could say that about a lot of this kit. There we go. Whoa. So yeah, that right there is the high mobility form. This one right here then is the high speed form. So to do this, all you have to do is tuck those big old segments from around the back of the legs forward and release those GN thrusters from the shoulders and the knees. That is it. So now moving on into the accessories, and one more time, there's an overview of absolutely everything that comes in the box. So we've taken a look at all the armor so far. Let's move into the weapons and equipment. So of course this would not be Exia without 7 swords. The first 4 of those swords are those beam sabers with those big flat beams, which I love and adore. Usual scenario right here, just pop into those hands like so onto the peg does all the work, and the beams come in both long and short. So that right there is what the Exia Avalanche Dash will look like with those beam sabers. When these are not in use, as usual, you can just pull out the beams like so, then attach the handles round onto those 4 different slots up on the shoulders and backpack. I will mention that around on the backpack, you can move these ones here, they can rotate here, but those ones we've got up on the shoulders, they cannot move besides with the shoulders. And that does mean they can kind of get in the way sometimes when you're posing it. If that was not enough, we've also got 2 standard beams in here. These are not for using with the beam sabers. These are actually for using with some claws that are down here on these little arms on the feet now. These claws are incredibly cool. They feature 2 points of articulation each. The lower claw can move up and down independently. The top 2 are attached together. Everything can open and close, which is ridiculously cool. And this can also move up and down like this. I love that. And speaking of that beam saber we're just talking about, that just shoves on into the hole just like that. So that is so cool. Just like it shows in the manual right here, that means Exia can use 4 beam sabers all at the one time. So now continuing on with the 7 swords, we already saw the 4 beam sabers, so now 4, 5, and 6. And that is the GN long and the GN short blade. So both of these are pretty much identical besides the length. That is the long one, which we'll be looking at. There is the short one. These are nice in white, gray, blue, and there is a metallic silver in here, but I did paint over it with an actual metallic silver because I really was not digging what was essentially a glittery kind of gray. These attach into the hands in the exact same way as the beam sabers did, but I will mention that I'm finding it's having a lot of trouble holding on to these. That's why that one's hanging off kind of crooked like that. I kept popping them into the hands, they kept popping off the pegs, I got sick of trying, and that's kind of what happened. So these just don't seem to hold in as well as the beam sabers for whatever reason. That is one of the reasons I don't like this style of hand at all. It's all the peg doing the work, not the fingers, so once again, these are a little annoying. Moving on to some good weapons. So as for those good weapons, the first one is not a weapon, it's the shield, and the second one then is my all-time favorite Gundam weapon of all time ever, the GN sword. Sometimes I do believe that the GN sword is a 2 or 3, the one that comes with the Gundam 00 is my favorite, but when I see this one is my favorite. Once again, I did paint the blade. The humidity totally screwed it up the first time, so I had to sand it all off. So it is still a little bit on the scrapey side, but yeah, battle damage or something. So attaching on the GN sword, as usual, is pretty much the same as the standard Exia, although a little bit more awkward. It attaches into the hand as it normally does, and then attaches into the forearm in a little bit of a kind of, well, awkward diagonal angle. The whole thing is a little more difficult than the standard Exia, and again, the overall kind of feeling I have with this kit is somewhat awkward, but on the whole fine. And that goes to the sword as well. So lastly now, moving on to the shield right here. So once again, this is exactly the same as the standard Exia. Avalanche here, it does have a hole in its forearm, but apparently you don't stick this on there at all. Instead, this mounts up on the rectangular sections up on the backpack. I'm going to try it in the forearm anyway, just for the sake of curiosity. Yeah, not a hope. It's just too wide on the side. It does not fit. So instead it attaches up here in case, I don't know, it wants to protect against shots coming from that particular direction in particular. As for the other hole over there, that's for attaching this little rack segment right here onto. So this is for slapping both of those GN swords onto, just like this right here. And then you can pop those up onto that backpack just like this. Because, you know, it's not like this mobile suit wasn't cluttered enough already. But wait, there's more! The shield does not go on there, I am a fool. What actually goes on there is the GN sword. So swapping that GN sword from that cool gunblade mode to that kind of gun mode, that then should attach into that hole just like that or something. That's pretty cool. And the shield here actually attaches onto an adapter, which is replacing the part that attaches it to the arm that it doesn't fit to, so I guess that's no real loss. And that then connects into that slot there on the butt flap, so it's kind of like a tail. And that is pretty cool looking. Whew, so that right there is it for the review. This one's definitely a hard one to rank, so I'm gonna have to get my thoughts in order first before I actually do that. All I can say is if you don't like Gundams or model kits with too many finicky little bits and kind of a design that really was not ready for all those finicky bits, then this may not be a kit that you would want. It's reasons like this that I don't review certain kits or haven't reviewed certain kits, including the Psycho Zaku, but like, if something is inclined to fall off, I will knock it off repeatedly, and the same goes for this right here. It is absolute eye candy, there's so much going on, and it is an awesome kit. Once again, it is all built onto older tech, which definitely is not the worst by any means, but it does mean that it does have a lot of awkward aspects, and some parts that will fall off, and some parts that need tightening up. In a way, I do believe painting the kit will clear up a lot of its issues because it is usually due with ill-fitting and not tight enough parts. So once you've painted something up, all those issues tend to disappear. So if you do paint it, top coat it or something like that, when the parts are all disassembled, you shouldn't have much issues with this kit, but out of the box, it is a little bit awkward. So keeping all of that in mind and everything that comes in this box and what this box is like, I still think this kit right here is gold tier, which means I do think this is better than average for a master grade kit. It has a lot of cool stuff, the end product looks mesmerizingly beautiful, and once again, although it does have its issues which makes it kind of awkward, it makes up for those with some great aspects. I will mention, however, the metallic silver in here is not very cool. I recommend painting that up at the very least. And hey, at the end of the day, you're gonna have yourself one shelf-dominating, beautiful model kit. So in the end, even though I did not like building this, I do like what I have in my hands right now, and I do recommend it. If you're thinking of getting it, you love Exia, you love cool-looking model kits, and you love things that look a little unique within Gundam, I say go for this right here. And you, as always, thank you so much for watching. There is a giveaway going right now for the Barbatos and the option set. That would be the Master Grade, of course. There is a link in the description to the video that is in. If I've forgotten to add that to the description, you'll find the video somewhere on the channel. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. As always, I cannot end this video right here without thanking each and every one of you guys for watching this video, for dropping a like, subscribing, and of course to each and every one of you that supports me over on the channel memberships or over on Patreon, like Craig Jerry, Tyler Sanders, the ambassador for Asymmetric Cats, Caleb Engelhart, Sean T, and Brian Perez.